What's North Korea's vibes on gay marriage?
Punishable by death.
Probably.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure.
What's Australia's vibe on gay marriage?
Why are you laughing?
Canadian marriage?
I'm just doing a sweet transition to the next topic, which is
punishable by-
the plebiscite, which Chris is going to talk to us very loudly about.
Amazing. So, did you know there was the government, right? You know those guys?
Yeah.
They've been talking again about the old plebiscite. So, but as usual, you know, it got shouted down.
Shouting down.
They're shouting it down.
They're shouting down.
They wanted to do a compulsory plebiscite.
What does that mean?
That means everyone votes yes or no. Should we do this or should we not do this?
That seems like a good idea.
Does it?
Got shouting down.
They were shouting down.
They had a little vote. 31 people said, yeah, plebiscite.
Yeah.
31 people also said, nah, no.
Nah.
31 people, or was it 31 senators?
Senators are
Senators are
people
people.
too, Ali.
Oh, wow.
So it was
Checkmate.
exactly 50-50?
Yep, which means no go.
What are the
No compulsory
chances?
plebiscite. So then the government, they were like, let's do a non-compulsory postal plebiscite. Sounds like a good idea, right?
No.
Send some mail to your house, right?
Isn't the point, like, the benefit of a compulsory one is that you get the people's opinions who didn't want to vote as well?
Yeah,
Isn't that like a very valuable thing?
yeah. So,
The fact that voting is compulsory in Australia is a huge advantage, I think, that this country has over a lot of others.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing.
I agree. I think compulsory voting is a good thing.
I voted for the first time last time,
What?
which I probably wouldn't have done it if it wasn't 20 metres away from my house that I was staying at.
Are you gonna go to jail?
I just wasn't registered before
Oh.
that.
I've never voted in my whole life.
Yeah, but that's because you're...
But if they let me, I would.
Well, if you want to vote in this one, you have to go and make sure you're registered in the next
14
2
days.
weeks.
which sounds easy.
It's pretty
But it's-
easy. Just
Is it?
jump on the website, you know.
Is that it?
ATO.
Sounds
I don't
pretty
know.
easy.
ATO, the tax office.
ABN.
Are they going to tax me for voting?
Australian
Jeez.
business number.
.gov.
Oh my god.
I think you mean MyGov.
That's where I get my salary.
I think you'd have to go to the AEC, the Australian Electoral Commission.
I don't know how you people
So,
do
but-
stuff.
So the government wants to do a non-compulsory postal plebiscite, which means they'll post something to you and you say yes or no, and then you post it back and then they count it up and they see what happens. People think, A, this is bad, but B, you can't do this. You're not allowed to do this.
Why not?
Because it's expensive. This postal plebiscite costs about $122 million, and they're saying you can't use those Commonwealth funds to do this silly thing. The government can't do it unless the Senate votes on it and agrees,
Why is it silly?
because it costs so much money.
122
million.
Far out.
Is that for a full plebiscite or just the postal one?
The postal one, apparently.
But I thought that was the one they don't need the Senate.
You know what? Well, sorry.
Correct, because of something called the Finance Minister's Advance. So they've launched like a high
High Court challenge.
saying you can't do this because A, it's harmful to gay and lesbian couples, and B,
Thumbnail.
you can't spend Commonwealth funds like this without a Senate approval, but they can.
So,
You want to know what the audience thinks?
what do they
Audience by meaning one person in the comment section. Marley says the plebiscite is the government's way of avoiding any controversial responsibility for bringing something into law that might lose them some of the right-wing support.
Not wrong.
Support.
Hold on.
What does that mean in layman's terms, Jono?
It means they most of the Liberal Party's base doesn't want gay marriage to happen.
Conservative.
So if the Liberals allow a conscience vote in the Parliament, which means like every politician votes the way they think it should be, doesn't matter what the party says, I think it would pass. It's close, but I think it would pass into law. But then all these like Conservative voters would be upset at the LNP and would probably shift to One Nation or to the new Conservative Party with Cory Bernardi.
Ugh.
Ooh,
So
One Nation.
because
Yuck.
they don't want to lose votes, they can't be seen to be the active people who bring about gay marriage. So they can use this argument where they said, we campaigned during the last election saying we would do a plebiscite. So we'll do a plebiscite. And if the plebiscite comes back saying yes, I guess the idea is that they would vote for gay marriage. But I don't think that's what they actually want. What do they actually want to do?
If the result is yes, then they'll put forward a private members' bill and all the MPs will vote.
Will it be a free vote or a binding vote?
Free vote, I believe.
Okay, so if a majority of Australians want it to happen, it'll still be up to the individual MPs anyway, whether or not they say yes.
And if the result is yes from the plebiscite, it doesn't guarantee anything.
Because there's a few Labor Party MPs who are against. The majority of Labor Party MPs are for gay marriage being allowed, and a few of the Liberal Party MPs are for it. So there's a bit of crossover, and I'm not sure how the numbers fall on that, but I think it would pass if it was a free vote.
Is there a scenario in which this can happen? Do a plebiscite.
Yep.
Compulsory. Everybody votes, and whatever the result is, that becomes a law.
That's a referendum, isn't it?
That's a referendum. They're not doing that.
Does that not make sense?
You don't need a referendum to do something that's not a constitutional change. It's a law change.
Right.
Because by that logic, we could referendum for everything.
Right.
Kind of.
There is a political party that wants that to be the system. Of
That
government,
sounds awesome.
where you would vote online, like everyone would vote online.
It just makes sense.
Yeah,
to
imagine
me.
instead of waking up and checking Facebook, you wake up and see what laws are we making today.
Could you imagine if you actually had to understand every single thing
Yeah, I mean,
MPs have to vote on?
And that's the whole point of electing an MP, right? Is that they represent your...
They do the work.
beliefs.
They have the people who have actually looked into every matter and can do the smart thing.
I guess.
Now, if that's the case, what is the point of this plebiscite? Like, why are we doing this?
Because the government promised a plebiscite.
But it's not binding, so what's the point?
The government promised one, so they're saying...
It's just a poll.
The idea, I guess, is that the poll would guide what they decide. But
it wouldn't.
And we've had polls. People have done polls that are statistically significant. What are the results? What, 60% for it?
I don't know.
But yeah, so it's happening no matter what. Like, we can't stop it, right?
What?
The plebiscite?
Yeah, because the government doesn't need to legislate to do it. They can just do it.
Apparently from September 12, you'll start getting ballots in your mail.
Unless the High Court challenge stops it.
Which is doubtful.
Yeah, and even if it does stop it, I don't even know if that's the right way to go about it. I feel like it's better to just be like, okay, this is what's happening now.
Yeah.
Just make the best of it.
Which was where I was leading. If the tone's really shifted today, especially just from me scanning Facebook and my huge amount of friends list. I've been seeing from like 3 days ago, it was like, F this, to today it's like, okay, it's happening, let's actually vote for this.
Yeah. And the same thing on mine, like and I've been reading, like in the community of the progressive, the pro-gay marriage community, like there has been some like conflict between like, should we like abstain and boycott the thing, or should we just go for it and all vote yes?
I mean, if anything, they probably should have gone for the compulsory one.
Yeah.
They probably should have just voted that in.
Maybe they didn't see the postal plebiscite.
No, but they did. They knew that time. This time when they voted, they knew the postal plebiscite was the alternative, because that's what the government. So the government, like a couple of weeks ago, there was a bunch of backbenchers who were like, "We're gonna put this through anyway." Now they can do that because if they crossed the floor with the Labor Party, they would have had the numbers in order to suspend what they call standing orders in the lower house, and they would have been able to introduce their own legislation, which would have been voted on. So they basically would have been able to stop their prime minister and the government from stopping them. But that would have represented like a massive revolt. Each of those MPs in the Liberal side were threatened by basically saying, "You're not going to be our person in the next election in your seat." They were being threatened by pre-selection stuff. So that they basically came and had a big Liberal National Party meeting, and decided on this postal plebiscite plan. So it was like, we're going to put the compulsory plebiscite plan through, see if that gets through the Senate, but if we don't get that, we're going to do the postal one.
In theory, a plebiscite sounds so useful.
It does, but it's very expensive.
Yeah.
And it's okay. The problem isn't it the problem that it just, It gives too much power to people who care too much about this.
Yeah, if it's not compulsory, the results are going to be skewed
Yes.
towards people who are strongly opinionated.
Which I think gives quite an advantage to the no vote.
There are people I feel like there's people who care strongly on both sides.
Yeah, but it's a very unpopular opinion to say no. So I think you have to care a lot to be a no. So if, say, it's 60-40, yes to no,
Right.
I reckon there's more people who care on the no side than there are on the yes side.
Yeah, and there's also the theory that Marley just brought up again, who's been putting some stellar comments in
God
on
bless
the Facebook
you, Marley.
Live. He's from
Come on the
he's,
podcast.
he's from England, so we
God bless you, Marley.
He's actually he's comparing it to
God bless us, everyone.
Thank you,
and now we're
Marley.
making fun of him. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Governor.
Welcome to the show, Marley.
God save the Queen.
He was comparing it to Brexit because that was compulsory and that didn't turn out too great.
No, it didn't.
That wasn't compulsory.
He says it was a referendum.
There's a much big. It was a referendum, but that's not compulsory in England.
Well,
I think you can abstain.
Their elections aren't compulsory, just like America's aren't.
Bloody hell.
But he also brought up the theory that I was about to bring up of the kind of, I don't know if this is a harebrained theory or anything, but the fact that like no young person wants to vote via paper, and that's why they're doing it via paper, because all the old people will do it, who old people are more traditional, I think is the idea.
To be fair to the government, the Bureau of Statistics is running this. They're the ones who ran the census last time, which was online.
Census fail.
So they probably didn't want to risk doing another online thing because it would have failed.
It all comes down to NBN, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's
true.
bloody NBN.
If I had good
Don't
internet,
get me started
That
on
wasn't the
NBN.
problem last time.
If we had NBN, this wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Okay. So the thing people are concerned about is that it'll be very harmful to vulnerable, like young people, especially who are like maybe confused about their sexuality or know that they're like gay or lesbian, and they're not comfortable with the idea that there's going to be this like mail campaign. Apparently, there's no restrictions on what will be mailed to people in terms of like campaign material.
That's
so people
harsh.
could put anything out there.
Far out.
There's none of the rules that apply to a normal election. I don't think they'll apply to this one. So people could put out some pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah, so it could get real dirty.
So the concern is that there's already a much higher rate of suicide and depression amongst kids who are homosexual.
Yeah.
So this will only make it worse.
I didn't even think
That's the
about that.
idea.
Like, people are going to put pamphlets like vote no, vote no.
Yeah, and there'll be a lot of stuff in the news and things.
Jeez.
People just saying things like that.
Hate speech.
Like it's like people have access to the internet. Like this will just it'll mean that people are looking at stuff that a lot of people are commenting on. They'll see a lot of bad stuff basically. But like, do you guys think it'll be like? How do you think this is gonna go down in the public space in terms of this debate? Will it be mostly on TV and like newspapers? Like, where do you think this debate's gonna happen? Because there'll definitely be a campaign from the pro side because they have to get out the vote.
Yep.
They have to convince people to vote because they can't risk. If this is close, that's probably bad for them too. They need to properly win it. This is their one shot in this entire like election cycle, because if they lose this one, it'll be a no. So they're going to be pro, which means all the people who are against it are going to be coming out against it,
which
pretty
is
strongly.
I feel like any kind of against it campaign would spur more people to vote yes for it.
Yeah.
So do you think they're intelligent enough to know that?
It's hard to say. I mean, that could have been a factor in Brexit because people were like, no, it's gonna, like, there was a lot of fear mongering. There'll be a lot of fear mongering in this one too.
Yeah.
If you allow this to happen, it'll lead to something else happening, collapse of society or whatever.
Do you think so? I don't think that's the message that will come out. Like Tony Abbott and his gang.
Tony Abbott's already come out saying if you're against political correctness, then you have to vote no.
Hold on, if you're against political correctness, vote
He said if you want to stop political correctness in its tracks, you have to vote no on this. So he's trying to make this an ideological battle, like a much larger thing than it actually is.
So he's
Yeah, he's against.
Okay,
gay
hold on,
marriage.
he's a
He's very much against.
So it's politically correct because the gays can get married. We got to be nice to everyone.
Oh, okay.
Politically
So he's
correct.
saying cut the bull crap, basically.
Yeah.
He's saying where does it stop kind of argument.
Right.
It's funny though because his sister's a lesbian and she's also in the Liberal Party.
The
She's a
Batuta did a
councillor.
good one about that.
Yeah, and she came out with all this like, yeah, it was funny. She's basically having a public fight with her brother.
That's
on
awesome.
this.
Nothing better than a family feud.
Yeah, it's not political correctness. It's literally just what we're voting on.
Yeah.
It's just this thing.
Yeah.
It's gay marriage.
Yeah. Either you're anti it and you're pro the traditional definition, and that's okay, or you're for it and you realize, or you're for it and you think this has no impact on my life, so why should there be a law stopping it from happening?
Yeah, I think there's kind of a third one in that you're against kind of... I imagine there's a lot of people who would be against gay marriage but would vote yes anyway. Is that count as a group of people?
I don't.
What do you mean?
I don't
Why
understand
would
that
they?
group.
So they wouldn't they wouldn't approve of it, but they wouldn't be bothered by other people doing
As in
it.
they wouldn't want to have a gay marriage? But
Yeah.
they're okay with
Are you talking about?
that make
Are you
sense?
talking about straight people who are pro-gay people?
I'm straight,
Yeah.
so I really don't want to marry a guy.
You know,
But
it's
I
not
guess
just gay
okay.
people who vote yes.
You don't have to marry a guy if you vote yes. Right?
No, that's actually a valid. Like, I would possibly be in that. Like, because, like, I'm a Christian, so the religious view, like my faith view of marriage, is that it's between a man and a woman. Sort of, I think it is. The Bible's not like 100% clear on that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Bible should determine what the law is. Like, civil marriage is already a thing. I don't see why gay people should be allowed to get it.
What's civil marriage?
Like, you don't have to be married in a church anymore.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a minister who does it.
Celebrant.
Doesn't have to be, yeah, it can be anyone.
Yeah.
So why would you, if there's already that definition of marriage, which is clearly not religious, it's already been split, right? But that's my opinion. So I guess that might be what Ali's thinking. It's like, you're personally like, you don't think it's that way, but in terms of what the law says, you don't think it should care?
Yeah, like I don't care what the law thinks about marriage.
Yeah, that doesn't affect what you believe, right?
Yeah.
But that works both ways. So it's like, if the law doesn't affect what you believe, then maybe what you believe shouldn't affect what the law says.
And I think people in that camp would probably end up just chucking the mail in the bin because
Yeah,
they
so
don't
they
feel
might be-
strongly
yeah.
about it either way.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, one thing to keep in mind is that regardless of the result of the postal plebiscite, it's not going to determine the law.
True.
It's still going to be the MPs voting, which could or could not reflect the plebiscite.
Well, it's more like you're voting yes if you want that vote to happen.
Which is
Because
Right.
if it's a no vote, I don't think that vote's going to happen.
Right, because currently it's
Yeah.
not legal.
and even if yes gets through, it's not a foregone conclusion that the vote will go ahead.
It'd be super interesting to see like just the stats in the end of it.
If it was a yes vote and they didn't have the vote though, like that would be the most ridiculous thing to spend $110 million on nothing.
Anyway,
Yeah, that would be just stupid.
anything more to say about that?
Probably.